Hello everyone, I'm Tony.
And I'm Guy.
And this is The Manly Way.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Well, today we're again continuing to move on to some of the story that we have of each of us. And one of the things that we really wanted to point out was just how each of us are not only finding this aha moment of what lies ahead of us, but then it seems like when you move forward towards that goal of what you just learned, the more you move forward, it just seemed like we were starting to hit something hard, and we realized it was like a wall that we kept hitting. And it's like, and this wall was more than just something that that you see of actual structure. There's a lot of, it was a wall essentially mentally and emotionally that I'd say that we both experienced.
Yeah, and talking about, I know yesterday's video was a little bit fuzzy and it didn't work really well.
Yeah.
And I apologize for that. We're in a better spot. We were in
it's Montana.
It's Three Forks, Montana was where we were yesterday. We're in a better place than Three Forks today. We have to go where the work takes us.
Yes.
And so we're working. We just found a better cell area today.
Absolutely.
And so I apologize for that. So if you missed yesterday, we talked. Tony talked more about his struggle with depression, and through that, how he when you started going to school, Tony, there was actually you struggled with some depression because of why?
Well, actually,
just summarize that.
A lot of it, what happened to me was even prior to that was the work. I was working so many hours, and I wasn't spending any time with my wife, and it just seemed like there was no freedom. And that's where I believe most of what my experience of the depression took place. Yeah. And so part of the freedom that I saw was just stepping into something new. And so I was looking at going to school, furthering my education, but in that process was also becoming the primary caregiver for my two daughters. Yeah. And so in I'm like, okay, this is good. Now, what do we do here? We're in a situation where I'm going to school, no problem. I'm just going to step in and take care of my daughters, which we both have, let everybody know that was an experience in itself.
Yeah, that's tough.
Wow, we thought it was going to be simple, and
we didn't know if it was going to be simple, but we thought it was going to be easy. We thought it was going to be easier than it was.
Well, because everything is always taken care of. Yeah. My wife, she had everything flowing so smoothly. Yeah. So I was like, oh, this will be simple. I can do this task, and put them both together, and not have any problems with it, or just anything I can overcome. Going to school and taking care of my daughters. Wow, I didn't realize what goes into actually taking care of your daughters, actually being a primary caregiver, while Suzanne became the primary income source for our family. Yeah. So in that, I'm like, that's where I realized that I'm not the only person, I'm not the only man that's actually experiencing this situation. There's other men out there. Yeah. And so I started pushing ahead, but then what I realized is that we were pushing ahead, it seemed like there was this wall we kept hitting up against. Guy and I were talking about a little bit before we started here, that we both basically have the same situation, same wall that we were hitting up against.
The wall of identity.
Wall of identity, right? How many of you have ever heard somebody come out and say, "Did you ever hit the wall of identity?" I would have looked at him and said, "What the heck is that?
What are you talking about?"
What? But it's very real.
As we were talking, I'd asked Tony, "Did you ever have a point where you just said, I just felt like I didn't know who I was, or I didn't know who I was without my job?" Because even though your job might make you miserable, it also defines you.
Absolutely.
And so because it defines you so much, and because most typical men, their job defines them, if they step away from their job, or if they're not doing it all the time, or if they're taking care of their kids, it's not the same as having a corporate job or
think about it. Like, someone comes up to me for the past 25, 30 years, they say, what do you do for a living? I say, I'm a contractor.
Yeah.
I build stuff. I build stuff.
It's easy to say.
People can plug into that idea and understand it fairly well.
They have a mental picture.
Absolutely.
Or if you're a accountant or a CPA, or if you know.
Yeah, I work retail.
Yeah, I work retail.
Wholesale.
I'm a salesperson.
Exactly.
It's easy to say.
Yes.
But
yeah.
when somebody would come up to me and say, "What are you doing?" Well,
Yep.
I'm taking care of my kids. Well, yeah, on your spare time. But what are you doing?
What do you do? What do you do?
No,
that's a full time.
Yeah, no, I'm taking care of my kids.
Yep, that's full time.
So you, and then I get this. So you're letting your wife do all the.
Oh yeah.
Well, and so then there's that awkwardness of, do I really have to defend myself that much, or it's just because it's just not a social. It's just not socially accepted yet for men to take care of their kids. Now, you can still have. I know that there's still some social equality in women as well. I'm not saying that, but for men, it's brutal. It's brutal.
It's just not, like you said, it's not. It's gaining momentum, but it's still. There's still in so many circles it's not really understood.
Yeah.
And and part of that, like we were talking about earlier, is that once you hit up against, I mean, your circle of friends and people you come across in casual conversation or whatever, pretty soon there's this almost a level of like doubt, like I can't do this. I mean, how can I do this? Nobody understands it. Nobody gets it.
Yeah.
So how can I do it? I know how to be a contractor.
Yeah.
Here I'm already stepping out into school. For me, I was going back to college, and that's a big step for me. I mean, college has never been something that I jump at. I struggle through school.
Yeah.
I really do. And then here's this other avenue coming towards me, a roadblock that's coming at me that's saying, oh, well, how can you be the primary caregiver for your children when you've been a contractor all your life?
Yeah.
So there's like this doubt.
Well, yeah, and other people put doubts in your head too. I mean, it's not just you. I have other friends. I have family members who are actively taking care of their kids right now, or they're working part time, or them and their spouse are both working and they're co-raising their kids.
Right.
And when the dad takes their daughter to the park or to the family group or to the play session, it's almost like the dad's still being treated like you're a creeper or what are you doing with the kids?
This is odd.
And they're not being welcomed into the group, and that's pretty ostracizing. It makes you kind of shrink back and go, well, should I really be doing this? And yes, you should be doing this.
Absolutely.
You can be taking care of your kids.
Yes, you can.
And that's something that we both found that yes, and actually we can be good at it.
Right.
It's not something. Yes, we're not saying. By all means, we're not saying that children do not need their mothers. Oh my goodness, I would never say that.
No.
But they also need their fathers.
Absolutely.
And and dads can do a lot. Dads can help out tremendously. Mm-hmm. And we're just wanting to encourage men to do more.
Yes.
And that if you are doing more, that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, also back to that, it really, like we touched on that. Not only was it from the outside sources, taking your child to whatever function it might be or in the community, that it was also from the inner part of you going, it's like, can I, what do I do? How do I handle myself?
Yeah.
Really, am I supposed to be doing this? I had that so many times.
Yeah.
That doubt would come in. It's like, should I just go back to being a contractor because this just isn't working out?
Yeah.
And part of that is just like, no. I mean, part of it is for me, getting past that wall was getting past myself.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of I needed to get to a point where like my identity, I had to look at being the primary caregiver for my daughters, being their dad, doing what I was doing, was equally as important as building a skyscraper or building some huge structure, doing some complicated task, something that would took the years of experience I have to do.
Yes.
That it was just as important. And that right there really was one of the big, I would say one of those giant ladders that would help me climb up and over that dumb wall. But nonetheless,
wouldn't it have been great if we would have had something like the Manly Way,
oh,
or
absolutely,
something like a group of men that we can relate to.
Yes.
To help, because what we want to do is we actually want to build a group. Hopefully, we're going to be building a Facebook group that will connect everybody and bring us all together. And we'll be having that on other,
Yep.
in the future.
Yes.
So that we can all come together and we can just support each other. And again, it's encouraging men to do what they're really meant or needing to do.
Sure. It's kind of the old term of, I guess, stepping up to the plate, but it's more of them stepping up to the plate. We should already be there, but I know, because I experienced this, I personally wasn't stepping up to the plate early on. It just seemed like that was a place that I would pass it on to my wife for all that responsibility. So, and had I had encouragement, had I had additional teaching, someone come alongside of me saying, no, this is a time when you could actually join in with your wife. And
some of it is passed down from generation to generation.
Yes.
Depends on how you're raised.
Yes.
Some families do a better job with it.
Which I think that's what we were talking about in some of the next videos, is we should touch base on some of the, what I call preconditioning. That way we learned how to do certain things because we were taught that as a child coming up.
Yeah.
And how do you break out of those things?
Yeah.
How do you open your mind to do it? Right?
Exactly. And so if you were taught that the old-fashioned, the men do this, the men goes to work, and the women stay home, well, that's just not our world anymore. I mean, a lot of the jobs that are out there are jobs for women, and with as much equal rights and as equal pay that we have right now, we can't just say, well, we just can't do that anymore. And so, especially for younger men or men that have just been stuck in that rut of how they've done it in the past, I don't think, Tony, I really don't think we can keep doing that.
No.
I really think we're going to have to break away from that. And we've had to, and we're in our 50s, and we've had to break away from that and say, okay, we can't do this anymore.
Right.
We have to treat this differently and break out of the mold. And then what we're doing is we're wanting to teach and to help encourage other men how to do
Absolutely.
the same.
Yes.
Really.
Because we know that there's enough men out there in that situation, or which, as we look at it, young men are coming into that situation every year. There's like this graduation of men coming into the workforce or into situations where they're families and so this is always going to be something that's progressively moving forward. And that's, as a role, I believe that for us who have had the opportunity of already have gone through something, that we should be sharing that. And that's why we continue to look forward to any recommendations that you guys have,
or any comments,
I should say. And we're still, there's some people I know out there who has some cool recipes, but they're nervous about filming themselves. Listen, if Guy and I can do this, I really mean this. Anybody can do this.
Yeah, we're a couple contractor dudes who are just dudes, and that's why we called it Dude Food, because we're just a couple dudes cooking food. We're not professionals.
Absolutely.
And yet we're coming up with some really great. And listen, today my dad, my 82-year-old dad, just gave me a recipe. He just passed down a recipe I didn't remember even having, that I want to add, and it's awesome. It's a corn on the cob recipe, and it's so simple that I'm like, I would do that. That's really easy.
I'm looking forward to it. I love corn on the cob.
I can't wait to just share all of this stuff with you guys.
Absolutely.
So send us whatever you can and let us know what you have, and comment. Just tell us what you got going on and ask us any questions, and we'll try to help as much as we can.
Absolutely. There's just so much information that still lies ahead that we want to pass on to you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's what's so nice is that we're reaching out to other men who have other situations in life and food and things that they've encountered that they've been able to, that's worked great for them. And we want to be here so that we can share things.
Yeah, and they're probably in the same. A lot of men are in